been a while since I posted a video, and I'm basically gonna just be posting a bunch of videos at the same time. Last time, or probably in the last video, I know I probably talked about how my first semester went. If I keep looking down, it's because I have some notes of what people wanted me to talk about, and I'm going to do a couple of videos today. And another reason why I'm all dressed up is because today's Eid. It's a Muslim holiday, and as you guys should know by now, I am Muslim. And I feel like I'll get more into that in another video about, like, how it is being Muslim and how it is being Muslim and Walaikum Salam. Um, how it is being Muslim and being a nurse in this field. So stay tuned. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about is I guess the application process. So for some people, when they went into the Accelerated program, they either did it from coming from a community college or they had a previous degree. Either way, because you had to have like your prereqs done, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But so yeah, you had to have one or the other. And for me, I had a previous degree. My first degree was in public health. I have a bachelor's of science in public health. So that kind of made things easy because all my prereqs were all done. Only thing I had to take online for community to finish off my prereqs was what's it called? Ethics, which was really easy. I did at my community college, and I just did online for like $500. And once that's done, then you can kind of get the ball rolling. But you kind of want to get the ball rolling even while you're taking this online class or whatever class you have to take, because everything has to be done within a certain time period. So as far as the application process, I think it was like probably like my senior year, second semester, where I kind of decided like around January that, hey, I want to go to nursing school. I told y'all originally that I had started out as a nursing major, switched to public health because I didn't make the GPA. But I decided, okay, I could have another chance. I could do accelerated nursing. All my prereqs will be done, and boom, boom, bang. So that's what I did, and I think I just started looking at a bunch of schools that I wanted to apply to, and I kind of just looked based on what prereqs they wanted. I know I didn't want to go to a school where I had to take organic chemistry, so that kind of was a dub. So then I started looking. So that's what I did. So step one is once you decide, okay, I'm going to do accelerated nursing, then start looking at the schools. Sorry, that's my neighbor in the background. I'm outside because this has the best lighting. Decide what schools you think you might want to go to, or just what I did was I went on Google and I typed in accelerated nursing programs, and a bunch of schools came up, and I just looked at what was in the area, and I also kind of looked like out of state because I was open to going out of state. That was fine with me, but majority of schools I did apply to were in state. So I applied to a bunch of schools in state after I looked at their prereqs, and I realized what I had and what I might need. I know I wasn't open to the organic chemistry, so any school that required that I kind of dubbed, and then I went from there. So the first thing I did was, once I decided, okay, I made a list of 10 schools. And among those 10 schools, I looked at how far they were from my house, because I didn't really want to move out. I had just moved back home after I just graduated this past May. I moved back home this year, and I was deciding, okay, public transportation or driving. I mean, I drive, but like, I don't want to drive super far for school. So I made a list of 10 schools, and from those 10 schools, I kind of started to deduct it, to minimize it based on tuition. I had already did a 4 year, so I knew my tuition was going to be limited. Now, the case might not be the same for you, only because I don't know, maybe you don't have a previous degree and you're just coming in with prereqs, so you're going to get more financial aid than someone who is coming without with a degree previously, because 9 times out of 10 they used all their financial aid in getting that degree, which was the case for me. So um, that's what I ended up doing. I minimized that, I think, to 5 schools, and then after those 5 schools, I reached out to each admissions counselor to see like what would be the process, and I started. I made like a little notebook of like what the dates were of application, because I had to hurry up because graduation was coming soon and I wanted to start in the fall. So once you decide on what time, like when you want to actually start school, and then you can kind of determine, okay, I can apply now, or I might have to wait to apply next year, or if you miss deadlines, things like that. And sometimes just reaching out to the admissions counselor helps, because you never know, they might be able to extend something for you, and you kind of explain your situation, like, hey, I kind of was last minute deciding on going to nursing school. Um, but when you're doing that, make sure that you have everything done as far as transcripts, um, having all your grades in order, letters of recommendations, things like that, so that when you do ask for this favor, let's say you're late as far as a deadline, they can actually look out and speed the process because you have everything you need. So then, after I chose the 5 schools and I reached out to the admissions counselors and I made a list of all the due dates, I started getting my things together. So, my things together as far as writing down all my prereqs and seeing what I needed to have to take from each school if I was missing a class, and determining like when my community college would offer it during this summer. And then I had to pay for all my transcripts, which was annoying because I think it came up to like $50, and I just was. I'm a broke college kid. I don't have a job. I mean, like I didn't have a big girl job, is what I would call it. I had I was a server at a restaurant, so I had to pay for all my transcripts. Once I did that, um, I reached out to my faculty. That's why it's really, really important to make friends with faculty. Whether you're at community, you're at a four-year, it doesn't matter where you are. Make good friends with faculty because you're going to need them for letters of recommendation. So I reached out to 2 that I knew would do a bunch of them, and then I also had a um, a previous employer who I was really close with who was willing to do my recommendation. So I would say get 3 people that you know will do your recommendation letters for you, no matter how many they are. So once I did that, I sent them an email. I sent each person an email with a little bit about myself, because although they knew me as a student or as an employee, some time did pass, and not they don't always know what you do outside of work or what you do outside of school or what organizations you're involved in. So I made sure to pretty much write what organizations I was involved in, um, what classes I had taken, what I had been certified in, what are my extracurricular activities, like what hobbies do I enjoy, why do I want to go to nursing school, and what are my future goals. And that made things very easy for them, because all they did was took what they knew about me already and just incorporated what I told them I do, and that just speeds up the process. So after I was able to get all of my recommendation letters, it's easy for most schools. They just tell you to write the email of the person that's doing the recommendation letter, and they'll send the email or a link to that person, and they'll just fill it out from there. And I always follow up with the person. So let's say 2 weeks later, after I know what's due, I'll follow, or 2 weeks before I know what's due, I'll follow up with the person who's doing the recommendation, and then a week after it's due, just as a thank you, as a courtesy thank you. And I've even done like Starbucks gift cards and Dunkin' gift cards just to show my appreciation. They didn't have to do the recommendation. Okay, so after I did the recommendations and I did all the application process, the applications, and I paid for them. some, I think they range from $50 to $65. It does depend on the school, and sometimes I was able. I think for two schools, I was able to reach out to once again. I said reach out to the admissions counselor who was able to waive the fee for me because once again, I was a broke college kid and I didn't have the funds to be paying $50 for 5 schools. Like that was impossible, and it's not even guaranteed that you get in. So I did that. And once the so applications are done, recommendations are done. The next process was, I guess, some schools I had to schedule an interview, so I made sure I did that, booked that in my calendar, and then after that, acceptance letters started to come in, and once they started to come in, I think out of the 5 schools, I was accepted to 4, and then I started looking at tuition because with the acceptance letters and things like that, they start to send you financial aid, and then I just from there decided, okay, based on like the aid I know I qualify for, which school is the best fit as far as distance, as far as can I pay for it, and as far as how much more classes or prereqs I have to take. And that's kind of the end of the application process. Okay, so the prereqs that I needed to have done was I needed to have a cumulative GPA of 3.0. You needed to have completed or be in the process of 4 credits of chemistry, including a lab, which I had to take for public health. Anatomy and physiology 1 and 2 including a lab, and it had to be done within the past 5 years. Microbiology, including a lab, like a lab that goes with each of these classes. English 1, English 2, Intro to Psychology, Intro to Sociology, Psychology or Sociology elective at the 200 level. Another social science elective, which I think was, I took a sociology class as an additional sociology elective. Um, a statistics class, a nutrition class, an ethics course, which is the one I had to take online. Um, a humanities elective, so like a philosophy, a language, a history, art history, or English course, and an additional humanities elective. So most of these are electives that almost everyone has done anyway, no matter what major you originally think you started out with, and even if you switched. So majority of these are pretty easy. Um, I would say look at try and write a list of all the classes you've taken, see how many credits they're worth, compare it to the credits of each of the schools that you are applying to, and then determine what's your best bet if you have to take a bunch more classes. If you have to take a bunch more classes, I would say um, either look at other schools or decide to apply the following year. It's okay to wait. You don't have to apply the moment you feel like, oh, I want to go to nursing school. You can just get all the prereqs done because it's cheaper. And then, because trust me, I know one person who was in um, classes with me who was taking other prereqs and they were miserable, and it's just not something you would like to do. So you want to do that, and then yeah, look at the prereqs of the schools you like to apply to and just see if everything fits. Once again, I'm looking at my notebook to see what else with the application. um, I can talk about how many classes do I take. So when I first started my first semester, because it's a 2-year program, so we have the regular 2 semesters, we have the summer semester, and then the last 2 semesters, which is your regular senior year. But first semester, I took about 5 classes because you don't start out with clinicals. You start out with clinicals your second semester, which is your spring semester. So I started out with, I think, 5 or 6 classes, and then we had something that was kind of equivalent to clinical where we had like a huge project and you kind of went to these sites. Mine was for my gerontology class and it was for my intro to nursing class. And basically, we chose 2 target populations. The gerontology class, which is the older population that was already like the older population. You just had to determine where you were going to go and what was going to be your focus for what you were going to teach them during that time. Those two were our clinicals. So I would say, I guess altogether, I had like 5 or 6 classes for my first semester. Then my second semester, things got really real because that's when we started clinical, and it was just a lot. I feel like we hit the ground running as soon as we came back in January because I had um, pediatrics, and then I had pediatrics clinical, and then I had MedSurg 1, I had MedSurg Clinical, I had Pathophysiology, I had Knowledge Synthesis. I know some schools, they do HESI, which I'll talk about in another video. Some schools do HESI, but we do ATI, which is basically like the whole time you're in nursing school, you're taking this one specific class that helps you prepare for the NCLEX, which you'll take at the end of graduation to get your um, board certification. So we do ATI. So we have knowledge synthesis class. We have knowledge 1, 2, and 3, and that's what I did. So knowledge 1, MedSurg 1, peds. I did another class that I'm not really sure. Can't remember. It must have not been important, but yeah, those were the classes that I took. I guess what made it rough was the clinicals because clinical does take a lot of your time. When you're in accelerated program, usually your clinicals, I mean, they might be during the week, but I know for us, ours were on the weekend, so um, we had clinical every weekend. It was a lot. And then this past semester, which was the harder semester, we took 17 credits. So I took maternity and I took maternity clinical. I took MedSurg 2, MedSurg clinical. I took research. I took knowledge synthesis 2, which again is for the ATI. I took Patho 2, and okay, Patho, MedSurg, research, maternity, knowledge. Yeah, so about 5 classes and 2 clinicals, which ended up being 17 credits, which is insane. I still don't even know how I did it in 3 months. It was like the shortest semester, the fastest semester. It's crazy. But as time goes on, we start having clinical every other weekend, but they're 12-hour shifts. I like that better because having one other weekend off, I can just focus on studying. But it does suck when you have clinical the weekend before exams, which ended up happening to me towards the end of the semester. But I mean, it's okay. It is what it is. So that's what I had to do as far as classes. So I'm still looking at my notebook to see what else people asked about. Um, and how to pay for school. So basically, what I did was my mom took out a Parent Plus loan because she has pretty good credit. So that worked out in my favor. But I know there are people who, not everybody is able to do that, or you may require a cosigner, things like that. I would say use websites like FastWeb or scholarship.com. Or just go on your school's website. So what I do every year, even when I was at my undergraduate, I would at the beginning of the school year, I find out who my financial aid counselor is, and I always set up a meeting with them to talk to them and determine, like, okay, well, I didn't qualify for this. What else could I possibly qualify for as time goes on, and what can I apply for? Because what happens is, a lot of people apply to these schools, and then some people decide not to go. You know what I mean? So that financial aid, at the end of the day, it gets put into like this big bucket. Not a physical bucket, but you know what I mean? Like this kind of big bucket to help those who need it. And sometimes it really just means like reaching out and asking for help. And it's helped me in multiple ways where I reached out and kind of harassed my financial aid supervisor, like, "Hey, I really, really need help," and then they somehow found a way for me to qualify for a scholarship or something. Or I usually look online, and then I also look at the school's website to see what scholarships they have. Oh, excuse me, to see what scholarships they have for not just nursing students, but just for undergraduate students. And I just apply for everything. And whatever I qualify for, I qualify for. Whatever I don't, I don't. And then whatever FAFSA, which is your financial aid that you apply for when you're doing your school applications. Do not forget. I think they're always due like the beginning of April. I do them earlier because the earlier you do it, it's kind of not first come first serve, but you're more likely to qualify for more things the earlier you do it. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing, and that's it. I think that kind of concludes everything. The application process, how to pay for it. Um, what else? Prereqs, how many classes? Yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the description below. I'll leave my Instagram down below, and I'll leave my um, email if you guys want to email me, and we can just kind of go from there. Um, yeah, if I missed anything or you felt like it was too vague, just let me know. Sorry, this video is like so wobbly, but I hope this helped you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Thanks.